Joining me, Jack Burkman, Republican strategist and host of Behind the Curtain with Jack Burkman. Catch him every Saturday night on the Radio America Network and Sunday afternoons at 2 on WMAL in Metro D.C. Also, Mark Levine, Democratic Delegate-Elect to the Virginia State House. Catch his nationally syndicated radio show, Inside Scoop, weekdays at 3 p.m. on marklevinetalk.com. Another week, another mass shooting. This time it happened in San Bernardino, California. 14 people were killed. Now investigators say at least one of the suspects pledged allegiance to ISIS on social media. The incident revived America's gun control debate at the White House, in Congress, and on the campaign trail.
We're going to have to, I think, search ourselves as a society to make sure that we can take basic steps that would make it harder, not impossible, but harder for individuals to get access to weapons.
The common theme with these kinds of shootings is mental illness, and this is something that we should not be ignoring.
Just what will it take for Congress to overcome the intimidation of the gun lobby and do something as sensible as making sure people on the terrorist watch list can't buy weapons?
This is not about gun control. If you think that shooting in California is about gun control, then you don't understand what's going on in the world.
A lot of opinions there. Jack, gun violence is clearly a crisis in the U.S. What's the answer?
I think they're all wrong, including the Speaker and even Lindsey. The common denominator increasingly, Morris, is radical Islam. What we need to do in this country is keep track of groups that are affiliated with radical Islam. You know, there's about a dozen of these radical organizations that the U.S. Justice Department could prosecute, but doesn't, because Loretta Lynch and before her Eric Holder, her predecessor, blocked the prosecution. They don't want to go after Islam.
Jack,
all of this, these people died. These people died because the President of the United States wants to coddle Islam. That's the problem.
There are people on the terrorist watch list. Tell me why Republicans in Congress want to make sure it's easy for them to own guns. Why can't you and I agree that you ban people who are known terrorists from buying these powerful weapons?
Because it's not the issue. What we need is
you would track their mosques, but you wouldn't take their guns away.
What we need, Mark, is an internal crackdown in this country on everybody affiliated with radical Islam. We have to stop this party.
You would violate the First Amendment? You would just say,
no, you can do it in a way
Islam,
consistent with the First Amendment. We can do it in
Would you have a database the way Donald Trump wants?
I would, and I would keep track of them, and I would put anybody associated with radical Islamic organizations, not Muslims, but radical Islamic organizations, would be put up on the internet wherever they live so that everybody could keep track of these people.
But you'd still let them buy an AK-47?
I would. Every citizen, you can't shut down the Second Amendment. You don't shut down the Second Amendment.
You shut down their speech, but you'd still leave them buying guns.
No, we wouldn't shut down their speech.
Well, personally, I kind of go with Paul Ryan because even with Sandy Hook, a lot of these other incidents, mental health has been a major issue, separate from anything that happened when now the FBI is saying this is being investigated as a terrorist event. I still think that mental health is a big issue as opposed to gun control. All right. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut has been pushing for new gun control measures since Sandy Hook. He's had enough with the phrase thoughts and prayers after mass shootings. Murphy prompted a lot of discussion with this tweet, quote, "Your thoughts should be about steps to take to stop this carnage. Your prayer should be for forgiveness if you do nothing again." Did he go too far, Mark?
He didn't go far enough. He's absolutely right. The people who want to allow terrorists to buy guns in America should be ashamed of themselves, and they have blood on their hands. I'll go even farther. Why not give them tanks? Right? If we're going to give terrorists these semi-automatic weapons, why not give them tanks?
When dictators, historically, Morris, when you look at the rise of dictators in world history, the first thing they all do, whether it's Stalin or Pol Pot or Hitler or whoever, the first thing they do is collect up all the guns in the society.
So you're defending the right of ISIS members to own guns
I'm defending the right of everybody to own guns. What
including
we need to
members
do,
of ISIS.
Listen, Mark, the problem in the United States is that we are fundamentally, we are at war with one group of people, and that is the radical Islam. Radical Islam. This is where we must focus our energy. Not guns, not even mental health, because anybody involved in a shooting is mentally ill, but I think that's beside the point.
We've had 350 mass shootings in 331 days, Jack. This one is terrorism. A lot of them are mental health. A lot of them are accidents. They're children playing with guns. And all the people who want to do nothing on guns, I think they're losing the American people, and we're going to win in the election.
All right, let's go on to gun violence is also prompting protests in Chicago. In October of 2014, a white police officer shot and killed a black teenager. Mayor Rahm Emanuel has now fired the police superintendent. There are allegations of a cover-up and calls for the mayor himself to step down. Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton calls for a federal investigation into the shooting. Why is she getting involved, Jack?
Well, this has become, all of this race stuff has become a cottage industry for the Democrats. I mean, Hillary's doing it for political reasons. She wants to pander to the left-wing base.
Well, you've got Rahm, that's Obama's guy in Chicago.
Well, yes, that's true. But I mean, Hillary Clinton needs to shore herself up on the far left. I mean, you have Bernie Sanders nipping at her heels. You have Martin O'Malley actually starting to surge and do much better now. She's concerned about her far left-wing base. I think that's very easily explained.
I don't see it as pandering to want to go after cops that shoot someone who's already down on the ground 12 more times. That's something that everyone should be concerned about, Jack.
You're trying to turn, what you're trying to do, Mark, is take all of these things, Chicago, Baltimore, Los Angeles, and you want to turn them into race issues. You can't make these things out to be race issues.
Whatever happened, the police officer was wrong. He should be tried for murder. He is being tried for murder.
None of that,
and this is an important issue in America.
But none of that
Black
means that
lives
it's a
matter.
race issue. None of that means that it concerns race.
Well,
Hillary
it does
Clinton,
because the police go after unarmed black men more than others, and that's a problem.
All right, let's move on to the GOP primary. The latest poll by Quinnipiac University shows Donald Trump with a substantial lead over the rest of the Republican pack. The gloves are coming off. Here's a new ad from Ohio Governor John Kasich.
Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
He appeared to mock a reporter with a disability.
He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said.
That reporter he is talking about is Serge Kovaleski, who now works for the New York Times. As you can see right there, he suffers from a chronic condition that impairs movement of his arm.
Trump says he wasn't mocking the reporter because he didn't know what the reporter looked like. But in truth, they have known each other personally for years.
He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said.
John Kasich isn't the only person taking Trump to task. Washington Post columnist Dana Milbank calls Trump a racist. Are these attacks justified, Jack? When is he going to start acting presidential? I mean, you were the big supporter of Trump. We all thought he might go farther than he is, but what's going on?
I still think he'll go farther. I haven't made an endorsement yet, Morris. I think it's a good ad. Kasich has a good ad. Look, Trump realizes that the #1 issue for the Republican base, it's not terrorism, it's not even immigration, it's one thing, the war on political correctness. He has made this his issue. What's happening with the base, every time Donald Trump gets criticized for doing something politically incorrect, his standing with the Republican base goes up. He has figured this out. You will see this and 10 other incidents just like it, and each and every time that it happens, Trump will rise in the polls just like he's doing now.
Mark, he's got a point. If we thought Bill Maher had a good show back then on Politically Incorrect, I think Trump would be even better with a show like that.
Well, he's definitely a good showman. He's definitely entertaining. He's definitely interesting to watch. What Jack says about the Republican base is very interesting. I agree with Jack, but what does it say about the Republican base? That anytime someone's racist or anti-women or mocks someone with disabilities, they love it. What does that say about your party, Jack?
What it says is it doesn't mean any of those things. Those things are anecdotal examples. What we want is freedom of speech. What it says about the Republican Party is the Republican Party is interested in reviving. We want a resuscitation of free speech in this country.
This isn't clever satire.
That liberals
it's
are
mocking
killing.
someone with a disability. And frankly, it's beneath anyone running for president of the United States.
All right, the Post also got their hands on a confidential memo written by National Republican official Ward Baker. He calls Trump a misguided missile who said some wacky things about women. The memo compares Trump to Wendell Willkie. Now, this is interesting. Willkie was also a corporate executive and the Republican favorite in 1940, but he lost the general election. What do you make of this comparison, Jack?
Well, it could be good. I hadn't really thought of 1940 as being on point. A lot of people are talking about 1898. I think this election could be a lot like 1968, actually. That's the year I look to for an analog. 1940, Roosevelt was, if you look at 1940, Franklin Roosevelt was much, much stronger than Hillary Clinton is today. So I don't know that Hillary Clinton would never be as strong as FDR was in 1940.
If you get a look at 1968, the comparison to Donald Trump is George Wallace, not Wendell Willkie.
Oh,
Wendell
that's
Willkie
silly.
was a mired manner corporate executive.
How is Trump comparable to George? That's silly, Mark. Come
George
on.
Wallace is appearing to, he appeals to ignorant white voters, uneducated people who believed a lot of his nasty rhetoric, and that's who Donald Trump appeals to. I agree.
How do you
he's
really
a good
feel,
showman.
Mark, about that?
Well, I'm not a huge fan,
Well,
but
I
he
mean,
was good on Saturday Night Live,
All right.
so I'll give him that.
I'd like to talk about an historic announcement from Defense Secretary Ash Carter. He says all combat posts will now be open to women.
They'll be allowed to drive tanks, fire mortars, and lead infantry soldiers into combat. They'll be able to serve as Army Rangers and Green Berets, Navy SEALs, Marine Corps Infantry, Air Force parajumpers, and everything else that was previously open only to men.
Some congressional Republicans raised the alarm. They say Carter's announcement could pave the way for all young women in America registering for the draft. Fear-mongering or a real concern, Jack?
Oh, I think it's a real concern. I don't support women in combat. I frankly think that why should we take mothers away from their children to put them in combat? The United States has no need for anything like that. I think the White House should be ashamed of itself to do that. I support women in the armed forces, but women in combat, that's a bridge too far. I think every sensible American knows that.
Mark?
Wow, Jack. I tell you, even you surprised me on this one. This is something that should have happened 25 years ago.
Oh, my God.
If someone can do the job, someone can do the job. If a woman can carry a 200-pound back up a hill and is a great sniper, I want her in the military. She wants to be there. People should be judged based on how well they do, on their competence, not on their gender. These are very old notions, and Jack, I'm surprised you still have them.
All right, before we go, I'd like to talk about House Speaker Paul Ryan. He says it's time Republicans put together a complete agenda as an alternative to the left. Ryan wants to replace Obamacare and overhaul the tax code. What's more surprising, that list or Ryan's beard? What do you think, Mark?
The beard did surprise me. I looked for the list. I read the article in the New York Times. I read a lot of the speech. I didn't see a list. I didn't see any specifics. It sounds to me the Republican Party is still an empty suit. They're the party of just say no, the party of anti-Obama. I didn't see many specifics
Jack,
in his plan.
you've got to admit they've got to come out with a strategy. I think that Ryan is pushing that, but do you like his beard too?
In honor of the Speaker, I have starting to sport my own beard here. Your producer pointed out that it's going gray, which is not a good sign, Morris. So in honor of the Speaker, I continue to sport a beard.
We should remind the audience that you officially ran for House Speaker, but somehow Paul Ryan edged you out.
Edged me out in a tough race.
Jack and I got the same number of votes.
Maybe next time. All right, Mark Levine, Democratic strategist, Jack Burkman, Republican strategist, the best political panel on TV. Thanks to you both.
Thank you, Morris.
Thank you, Morris.
Thank you, Mark.
And Jack.